Mediterranean. The Italian Coast Guard has rescued a number of Tunisian migrants near the island of Lampedusa. Their fishing vessel issued a distress signal when it hit rough seas. Nearly 7,000 people have now arrived on Lampedusa since the fall of the Tunisian government in January, and with thousands fleeing across the Libyan border into Tunisia, that flow is likely to continue. Well, joining me now is Andrew Mitchell. He's Britain's International Development Minister. He's just come back from Tunisia, where he visited the temporary camp at Ras Ajdir, that's on the Libyan border, to see the conditions of those fleeing the violence in Libya. We've been hearing, actually, in the last couple of hours, that flow of migrants has begun to lessen over the border into Tunisia. Is that because there are simply fewer people who want to get out now, or because they're not able to do so?
Well, we think it is the latter, but we're not clear. When I was on the border yesterday, I had the opportunity of speaking both to the chief of police, the Tunisian head of the army there. They have tried hard to find out what is happening the other side of the border. And having interviewed a large number of people coming over, they have concluded that no one really knows. And that underlines two things, in my view. The first is that we are facing on the border at the moment not a humanitarian crisis, but a logistics crisis. That's why Britain has been involved in flying out so far over 5,500 people from the local airport, and why we sent two logistics experts to help address that logistical crisis. But the fact that we don't know what is happening the other side of the border underlines the importance of us preparing for every eventuality, and in particular that we're able to scale up depending upon the situation that now emerges.
Well, is the international community as a whole doing enough? There are various European countries, as we know. We know the US has also been involved. But then there are other countries. For example, we've heard that there are many thousands of Bangladeshis who are trying to get out of their country, and they simply don't have the facility to do it. And the Bangladeshi government, for example, hasn't been able to help. Is there enough being done globally?
Well, we are looking at how we can help with that. I met the Vietnamese minister who was in the camps yesterday, trying to make sure that the Vietnamese migrant workers got home. Bangladesh is a country with which Britain has a very significant development programme. We're looking to see how we can help. I think it is important that everyone now pulls together to assist. Britain was one of the first countries to send down tents and blankets to help, because many of these people were kept out in the open in the early nights, in spite of the really very impressive work that the Tunisian government has been able to do there. But the head of OCHA, Valerie Amos, will be in Geneva on Monday. She's down at the border today to make sure that the international community focuses on this. And we call immediately for unfettered access into Libya from the international community. It was never cut off, indeed, in the days of Saddam Hussein in Baghdad. It has been cut off by Colonel Gaddafi, and we call for it immediately to be reopened.
What about the fact that we know that British troops are on what is effectively a 24-hour standby to go into Libya for, and it was quoted as being humanitarian assistance? What factors would lead to British troops actually arriving in the country to deliver some sort of humanitarian aid? Because clearly the Gaddafi government is not going to invite them in, is it?
What is important, as the British Prime Minister made so clear earlier this week, is that we should look at all eventualities and we should prepare for them. That's why he has made it clear that he does not think that a no-fly zone should be off the table. All these things should be prepared for, because we don't know what is going to happen. And that is the critical requirement that we need to see from the international community, and now and over the coming days.
All right, but you're not giving the details of what factors would prompt British troops to actually go into effectively a sovereign territory without an invitation. It would have to be fairly major?
I think that the key point here is that the whole of the international community should recognise that there are people in a desperate position inside Libya, thanks to the way the President Colonel Gaddafi is behaving, and that the international community must ensure that it is able to respond to every eventuality. That's why planning now is so important.
Andrew Mitchell, good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. More from me a little later in this news hour, but right now let's return you to Adrian in Doha.
Felicity, many thanks. So we're going back to the western Libyan city of AlJazeera, where witnesses say that tanks manned by forces loyal to Colonel Gaddafi have launched a fresh assault on the city. We've got someone on the line now called Mohammed. Sir, thank you for being with us. What can you tell us about what's happening there?
Early morning, following the Fajr, early morning prayers, the city was raided by pro-Gaddafi forces. They started randomly shooting and firing at the youth. Many fell dead in dozens. And
I'm here, sir. All right, that was this morning. We understand that since then protesters retook AlJazeera and that a new assault may be underway. What's happening right now?
We did not leave the square since morning. Many were killed, dozens were killed, and we managed to push them back. Following the noon, the AlJazeera came under another fresh attack. Now they are still raiding the city, and the problem now, they are dressed as civilians and shooting the people, and we cannot separate those who are with us and who is against us. The entire city is under fierce attack.
So they are dressed as civilians, you say, these pro-Gaddafi forces. And what sort of other hardware do they have? Are they using tanks again?
They are coming with heavy machinery. They are using the machine gun Kalashnikov, and they are still fighting. Yeah.
All right, Mohammed, thank you very much indeed for being with us. That's Mohammed speaking to us live there from the Libyan city of AlJazeera, which is in the west of the country, the scene of fierce fighting today. Now, it's been more than 3 weeks since the Egyptian uprising that ousted Hosni Mubarak, but still the fallout continues. Amid ongoing protests, the former Interior Minister has pleaded not guilty to charges of money laundering and profiteering. Shireen Tadros has been following that case from Cairo.
First came the ousting, and now comes the justice. Habib al-Adli, Egypt's former interior minister, mobbed by demonstrators shouting, "Execute him," as he was leaving court. Al-Adli is on trial for money laundering and profiteering. But people here want to see him tried for ordering the police to open fire on protesters during the revolution. And that's not all. This man says Al-Adli is responsible for setting prisoners free and deliberately causing chaos during the protests. This woman tells us it's not just Al-Adli, but all corrupt Interior Ministry officials who have policed with an iron fist that should stand trial. For over 10 years, Habib al-Adli was the face of one of the most hated institutions here, the Interior Ministry, as well as the security apparatus that came under its command. People are still asking for that security apparatus to be dismantled. That's what this protest was about late Friday outside the port city of Alexandria's State Security Building. Witnesses say police inside were shredding ID cards and documents that could incriminate them and their bosses in the future. As Egypt enters a new era, people still want justice for the past. They see it as the only way to guarantee a different, better future. Shireen Tadros, AlJazeera, Cairo.
Let's get some analysis on